Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. My name is Bradley Reider. I am here today to talk to you about our country's view of marijuana. Marijuana consumption in the United States is a highly debated topic. There are many people in the USA who believe that marijuana is a dangerous drug and should be absolutely illegal in all capacities. A growing perception, however, amongst Americans, particularly young Americans, is that marijuana should be legal either just for medical purposes or federal purposes as a whole. The youth of our country are beginning to realize that marijuana benefits may soon outweigh the detriments that are associated with it. These same youth realize that the association of marijuana and hard drugs is outdated. This association began in the early 1900s. Marijuana was a heavily associated drug with the lower echelon of society and began to be categorized as a malicious drug with effects similar to those that are mentally unstable. Today, we know that these categorizations are incorrect, and there may actually be major benefits to legalizing marijuana in some form. Marijuana has been around in the United States since the colonial days. Many of our founding fathers even grew hemp at the request of the King of England, including Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. It wasn't until a man named Harry Anslinger came around, however, that the true war on marijuana began. Anslinger was a racist and believed that marijuana was a drug exclusively for, to quote him, Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Anslinger also happened to be the first director of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics and used his conservative personal beliefs to dictate the organization's policy towards marijuana. These laws that were implemented were then integrated with the already existing Jim Crow laws of the South. As time went on, the stereotypes that Anslinger associated with marijuana began to stick with the American public. Americans simply did not have access to the proper information on marijuana and ultimately began to accept Anslinger's claims as facts. Due to modern day technology, however, we are beginning to understand that marijuana may not have as many negative side effects as once thought. The illicitness of marijuana is a broken and outdated system that needs to be altered in some way. The most conservative way to alter the marijuana system would be to legalize medical marijuana. For years, people have speculated about the potential benefits of medical marijuana. Marijuana has had many positive effects while treating many diseases, according to scientific research. While more studies need to be done to fully understand the medicinal benefits of smoking marijuana, it is clear from the initial research that there is a lot of potential benefits to it. There already has been progress made in regards to the benefits of medical marijuana in the treatment of diseases such as glaucoma, cancer, epilepsy, hepatitis, anxiety, Alzheimer's, PTSD, and many more. If potentially treating some of the world's most horrible diseases is not enough to convince certain people of the benefits of medical marijuana, it is important to note that currently only 6% of all research being done in the field of marijuana is in regards to the potential medical benefits. There are so many medical possibilities out there that haven't even been discovered yet, simply because of the stigma that is attached to marijuana. So far, 20 states in our United States of America have adopted legal medical marijuana practices in some form, and that number is expected to grow as more and more people are becoming more comfortable with the concept of medical marijuana. While it may be easier for some to wrap their heads around medical marijuana, it is harder for them to comply with the potential federal legalization of the drug as a whole. Many people still view marijuana as a hard drug and feel that the legalization would be bad for American society as a whole. These individuals feel that the legalization for would be bad accepting drugs. While it is tough to make the argument that smoking regularly is good for you, you could make the argument that recreational use is not that bad for you. Throughout the history of society, mankind has always had a fixation with vices. Humans seem to need something that is considered taboo in their lives to balance out everything else that they do. It is why people drink, why they smoke, and do other things that are considered not morally acceptable. As far as vices go, marijuana should be considered a pretty good alternative. Smoking marijuana has been proven to be significantly less harmful to the body compared to smoking tobacco. Many people now believe as well that alcohol is more detrimental to our health than marijuana. While there are no conclusive studies on the matter, the fact that binge drinking can kill you, but binge smoking marijuana cannot, is a huge factor that cannot be ignored. How can you justify one substance being legal that can kill you and another being illegal that cannot? This is the question that many supporters of marijuana constantly ask and demand an answer for. Marijuana smokers feel that they are entitled to the same or similar rights as drinkers and tobacco smokers. The simplicity of the matter when it comes to the legalization is that there are more benefits to legalizing weed than keeping it illegal. For one, we have thousands of nonviolent criminals that we pay to keep in jail based on minor marijuana offenses. Not only is this a problem for racial inequality, as many of them are African American or of minority descent, it is an extremely expensive practice that needs to be alleviated. It costs a lot of tax dollars to incarcerate an individual, and we should reserve that money for people who truly deserve to be locked up. Along those same grounds, we turn average people who just want to smoke a little bit into criminals the second they buy the plant. To say that someone who smokes a small amount of marijuana is a criminal is ludicrous and essentially equivalent to saying that someone who has a couple drinks or smokes a couple cigarettes is a criminal as well. Furthermore, there are significant economic benefits to be reaped if marijuana were legalized. If marijuana were to be legalized, we would be creating a massive industry overnight. Think about how big the alcohol and tobacco industries are and how much sin tax they have to pay. Marijuana could be governed along those same lines. According to estimates, the marijuana trade is currently over a $100 billion industry, which could amount to over $40 billion in taxes for the government. The marijuana industry could also create jobs, as farmers will be needed to cultivate the product. It is understandable why so many older Americans are hesitant to legalize marijuana. They grew up with false stereotypes and misinformation that have led to backwards laws and beliefs that still exist today. The fact that over 30 years after the prohibition of alcohol failed, a prohibition of marijuana was instituted is simply embarrassing. At some point, we need to start learning from our mistakes of the past and take advantage of the opportunities that are presented in front of us. Opponents of legalization need to stop hiding behind outdated information and bipartisan politics and truly begin the debate on federal legalization. If marijuana does not cause the effects it was perceived 2 years ago, and is actually deemed less deadly than alcohol or tobacco, there is no reason to keep it illegal. The legalization of marijuana in the United States presents a unique opportunity to allow the government to increase tax revenue, advance medical science, decrease crime rate, and create jobs all in one bill. It is time for America to come to the realization that marijuana is popular and here to stay. We need to organize our research and start reaping the benefits that are so clearly available with the legalization of marijuana. Thank you for your time.